What's good, you guys? So today's video, I want to talk to you guys about something that I feel has been happening in my life a lot recently. And that thing is people not being able to keep their word. And what I mean by that is people making plans with me and then setting a time. And then when I'm waiting for them around that time, they don't show up. Or situations like where someone says, hey, we got this going on at sometime in between, example, 3 and 5 p.m. And then I'm like, okay, well, let me know, because that's not a time, that's a time frame. So just text me and let me know. And then between 3 and 5 p.m. to on, I don't receive no message from them. I don't receive no text. And then come to find out that they did have the event, I just didn't receive a text. So it's like things like that I've been noticing a lot happening lately. And the problem comes in with, it's not even really that they don't show up. It's just more of, there's no communication. Like, you don't let me know that you're not going to show up, or you don't let me know that the event is at this specific time. It's a weird dynamic. And then a lot of times I feel like I said, there's no text or no communication. I feel like I have to reach out on my own to even find out about certain things. I have to text them to find out that, oh, I forgot I had to do this, I'm not gonna be able to show up. Or I have to text them and then they'd be like, oh yeah, we're here right now. And it has not been just one person for me. It's been a lot of different people in my life at a lot of different times. I feel like it's a cultural thing, possibly, where I feel like whether it's friends, family, even people at church, and this has been something that's been happening so often, it makes me wonder, like, is this a me problem? Am I just noticing things that aren't actually happening? Or is it just the way things are now? Is it technology causing people to be like this? What is it? Where people, I feel like, don't communicate thoroughly whenever they plan something with someone. And it's such a big deal to me too, because it's like, imagine like you take the time out of your day, you had plans and you make plans with someone else. So then you remove the things that you could be doing in your normal day-to-day life, just so you can make time for them, and then for them to not show up and then not even communicate that they're not going to show up. And then you sit and you wait for them, and you wait and then you wait, and then you eventually text them, and they're like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. And you're like, I just wasted my entire day waiting for you. And then you couldn't even think of me to think, let me text this person and tell them I'm not going to show up. And let me backtrack right quick and say this. I'm not saying this as a person that thinks of them as perfect in comparison to what other people do, because I understand everyone has things going on in their life. Everyone has plans that switch up and change and do different things like that. But for me, I just feel like a simple text is not something that's too hard for someone to do, This is something that really bothers me, because I feel like for me, I have a standard where I try to be as accountable as I possibly can. When it comes to me going to church and working AVL, I try to be there all the time. When it comes to me doing things with friends, family, or whoever, I always try to make sure that if I tell them, yes, I'm going to be at something, I'm trying to show up to it. I don't try to over plan things to the point where I forget that I have this planned and this planned. But even though I try to do those things, they do still happen. But when they do happen, I try to ensure that I'm at least texting that person back and being like, hey man, I'm not gonna be able to make it. I don't know, I feel like some of that may come from my time when I was in the military. It wasn't necessarily the militaries per se that made me in this way, but I did have a few friends where we had just that type of dynamic amongst each other. We knew that we wanted to be exceptional as men, and we knew that we expected a certain amount of standard out of each of us. Like I said, being accountable was one of the big things that we always talked about. Like, if we set something, we wanted to make sure that each of us held to whatever we set, so we lived up to what we were trying to do. And I think me getting back in the real world is just very difficult for me to adapt to the way the real world works versus the way some people have it in the military. And again, it's not the military as a whole. I experienced these same type of problems in the military also. It just wasn't as normalized, I feel like, as it is in the real world. And to me also, I feel like that's just in what a man should be, is being accountable. But I know to some people this may sound like a very minuscule topic, but for me, it is been something that's been really heavy on me because it happens so often. And it's been something that I talked to my wife about. Even like I asked her, like, do you think that it's me that's just experiencing things that is not actually happening? Because the fact that it happens so often, and I feel like I'm the only person that addresses it, I feel like maybe it is just me. But then thinking on it deeper, I'm also like, well, regardless if I feel like it's me or not, it's still somewhat something that's happening outwardly to me. And I feel like it's a very disrespectful thing whenever you can't think of someone else's life enough to communicate with them if you were able to show up to something or not. And I do think there is a difference in reaction from when it's somebody who you just met and they don't show up versus it's somebody who you walk in faith with, somebody you go to church with, somebody you just known all your life, and then they, I guess, flake on you. In that type of retrospect is way different whenever it's somebody that you know or somebody who you walk in faith with, because I think naturally, regardless if you're supposed to do this or not, I think naturally we hold people, especially in the faith, at a higher standard than regular people. Even though we're all humans and we all fall short of the glory of God, I do think we still hold people to a higher standard that are in the faith. And it hits different whenever it's someone who you know should be at a higher standard, or you think should be at a higher standard, and then they just completely just flick on you. And then getting off the topic of what people do to me, I also think to myself, like, what am I supposed to do in reaction to this? Because again, it's something that affects my entire day. And I can't lie, it makes me feel frustrated. It makes me want to distance myself from people. Matter of fact, to be honest, a lot of times I do end up distancing myself from people, but it's a constant conviction inside of me that tells me that's not the right thing to do. Regardless of what someone does to you, the way you react is always important. But I think what helps out, and I talked to one of my friends from church about this a lot, is isolation is not the key to anything. The devil prowls around like a roaring lion, waiting for people to isolate themselves. He is very cunning in times like that. Whenever you're alone, he gets in your head. He tries to tell you all these different things. So being isolated is never the answer. You should always draw near to other people of the faith whenever you're feeling any type of way, not just frustrated with a situation like this, but in any situation that you're in, drawing closer to people in the faith is always going to be the right move. Another thing for me is looking at the word when it comes to this topic. Like in Numbers 23:19, it says, God is not a man that he should lie. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not make good and fulfill it? So I take that as we are supposed to be Christ-like. And if Christ himself is not a man that he should not lie, then I think that for us to be like Christ, we should make it a habit. Again, we're not perfect. We're not him. We will never be Christ. We're all sinners. But being like Christ means we are striving to be the best as we can to be like him. So I think it's very important. It should be very important for us to constantly strive to be truthful and to keep our integrity. In Proverbs 25:19, it says, trusting in an unreliable person is like a broken tooth or an unsteady foot. So I take that as, people who are unreliable and you're trusting in them, it's like you're putting your faith or your trust in someone who could be somebody who does what they said they're going to do, or could not be. It's very wishy-washy. You never know what you're going to get with someone like that. So you should not put all your trust. It's not saying to not trust them at all, but it's saying to put your total trust in someone like that is not a good thing. To put your total trust in a man at all is a bad thing. But at the same time, I have to also check myself, because there's been plenty of times where I've told God, I've prayed to God, and I said, Lord, I will not do this anymore. Lord, I will fix myself in this area. Lord, I will pay more attention to this. I will read the Bible more. I'll pray more. And the very next day, not do it. So there's been plenty of times where I myself have been unreliable, untrustworthy, and to expect someone else to do it to me and to not give them grace is, I feel like, a very bad thing, especially when God gives me grace every single time. I'm still alive, so he's giving me grace every single time. In Ephesians 4:30, verse 31 through 32, it says, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with every kind of malice. Be kind and helpful to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as God in Christ has also forgave you." Literally talking about just what I just said. Like, God forgives us so many times over and over again, and when we do things knowing that we're doing the wrong things, and he still forgives us over and over again. So we are supposed to do the exact same thing to other people. God tells us to forgive and to love people and to give grace even when they do us wrong, because he's done it for us. So after reading all those different scriptures, it comes down to, how can I be a person that still has standards, still holds standards? Because having standards is still important. Even though the Bible tells us to forgive, to have grace, you can still have standards. And the process that I've been trying to go through is how to properly have a structured lifestyle, how to have standards, but still be able to give grace to people, still be able to love people and forgive people for the things that they do. And it starts with learning truths about the scenario. And number one is, I can't control people. I can't control what everyone does. I can't control how everyone goes about handling certain situations. People do things differently, and that's something that I do know. When me being in the military, you meet all people from all over the US, really all over the world. Nobody's the same. Not everybody has the same standards, and I have to understand that when dealing with situations like this. Is I can't expect everyone to act exactly the same or have the same standards or respond the same way to situations. But what I can do is be more forward facing, I guess you would say, as in being more communicative. Once I realize that I'm meeting that threshold of time where it's like, okay, I don't know if they're coming or not, I can text them right then. Instead of waiting and allow my day to get past me, I can be like, hey, are you still showing up? And just being on my part more communicative. And another thing I can do that may be kind of controversial, but maybe not clearing out my day, still knocking out the things that I need to knock out. And then once I get a confirmation, once I get a, hey, I am coming, once I get a, hey, you can pull up, then being like, okay, let me finish doing what I'm doing, and then I can immediately go do what I plan to do with them right after. Maybe not putting plans as such a high priority to where my entire day is cleared out around that specific time that I plan to do that with them. And it's not to be disrespectful to them or nothing. It's more of keeping structure going on in my life, even whenever there's other things outside of my normal day-to-day structure that is being put into those plans. And then another thing is also, even though this is hard, but communicating my own feelings to them. So whenever plans do fall through, whenever people do flake, not being afraid to go and talk to them and be like, hey, I get things going on in your life, but I would have liked it if you communicated to me that you wasn't going to be able to show up, or just you could have just let me know. Like, not everyone takes that well, because I've definitely said that to a few people before. Not everyone takes it well. Some people look at you like, bro, relax, it's not that big of a deal. But still communicating to people and letting them know, like, this is something that means a lot to me, and however they take it is how they take it, but me doing my part and still communicating and doing it through love and not through disrespect. And then crazy enough, the biggest thing I think is trying not to take it personally, which it should be something that I should be a veteran at, because in the military, you get yelled at constantly about things that you're not supposed to take personally, and then be able to say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and just move on. But that's something that, I don't know, I guess it's different, I guess, when it comes from someone who's doing it because they're in a higher position than you versus someone who is right next to you, a friend of yours, and then they do it. It's for me, I feel like it's different, and that's something that I'm still working on. But I do constantly try to think about that, like, don't take it personal. Not everyone's the same. Just let it fly off your shoulders and move on. And I think what would help you with all of that is all the other things that I'm changing about handling these type of situations. I feel like if I change those things, me taking it personal would be a lot easier. Me not taking it personal would be a lot easier. But in the last week of me thinking about this video and thinking about how I wanted to talk about it, I think the biggest realization for me has been me realizing it's not really about them and how they handle situations. It's about me and how I take situations. It's been something big that I've learned about myself is there is something more internal and deeper inside of me that needs to be fixed. This has been shown through how I react to how people treat me. I realized that when I feel disrespected, that's something that internally, there's something that's causing a trigger to happen whenever I feel disrespected, because I shouldn't instantly feel like someone's attacking me in situations when I know it's people that love me and it's not people that are intentionally trying to make me feel bad or something like that. But I do think it's a good thing that comes out of it, because if I wouldn't experience these situations, I wouldn't have known that disrespect triggers me so heavily. And with being a Christian as a whole, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So me going through the situations made me realize that this is a moment that I can check my own self, check how I'm reacting to certain things. And this is a moment where I can fix a part of my life that can be better in the future. And like I said, again, I'm not there yet. I'm not where I want to be with my response, but I do know in the future, I want to be known for a person that is consistent, a person that's reliable, and a person that even whenever someone else messes up towards me, I'm still full of grace. Because at the end of the day, it's not even about how people treat me. I can't react based off of how people treat me, because there's always going to be someone who's going to treat you in a negative way in this world. Because we're living in a fallen world, so someone's always going to be trying to do negative things to you. But it's all about how you react and how you represent Christ, how you show that you're a Christian. So I got to constantly remember that for myself and do that moving forward. But that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's topic. I hope it was something that you can think on too. And if you guys are going through the same thing, just remember those scriptures that I talked about and keep moving forward. Peace out.